Hello there, it's Rebecca W. Morris, and this is an interview with myself. This is a podcast for Sensitive Introvert Hideout. Sensitive Introvert Hideout is an online community that's been created by D. Rani Sohi. In fact, the first interview with myself podcast was with D. Rani Sohi and myself, two birds with one stone, as they say. The concept of the podcast is that because it's for introverts, we adapt it in a way that makes it as unstressful as possible. So, for example, Dee chose to send in written answers and I spoke them for her. This time around we have Daniella from In the Writer's Mind, who chose to interview herself. I guided her with some questions and she sent me her answers, which she recorded at home. And it's kind of like a nice way to do things because it kind of releases that pressure to be there at that time. And it's not to do with kind of introverts being wilting wallflowers. It's more to do with the fact that, as Daniella talks about in her interview, especially as a creative introvert, we're always spinning so many plates and we need so much time to just go into that world to kind of do what we're creating. And I also said to Daniella that she could just record it on her phone, as I am doing now, because also that takes away that element of exclusion in the sense that you would have to have the best recording equipment, or you'd have to be at a studio, or even access your home studio. Currently, I'm not at home, I'm staying away from home, so the fact that I can do this on my phone helps me a lot. And I think that's partly what this podcast is about. It's about accessibility, and which is why it's also a visual and audio podcast, because it opens up ways for people to consume and digest. I will now pass over to Daniella from The Writer's Mind. Thank you so much for listening.
My journey with this project has been an interesting one. I would say it started in 2015 when I created the website and I had only 2 articles up there, which were just my thoughts really. And then I've always had I would say quite a niche music taste. I remember in secondary school, I used to listen to music and none of my friends really would listen to music, and I listened just to a lot of underground music. I would spend ages on YouTube and ages on SoundCloud, and I would see these incredible producers, incredible musicians, and they wouldn't have a large following, and I would just be like, I actually want them to be platformed and I want to help to platform and celebrate their work. So In the Writer's Mind kind of evolved into a place where I interviewed these musicians and interviewed these artists, and not just even in the music industry, but even moving beyond that to the entertainment industry, and just bringing all my other interests into the platform as well. And then I think doing my master's in international journalism was really great because it helped me to evolve in the writer's mind, looking at visual storytelling. And I basically learned how to be a multimedia journalist during my master's, and I was taught, radio, how to rate radio packages, TV packages for news programs, and yeah, I just became a very varied digital person, I would say. But yeah, so In the Writer's Mind has it has really evolved from me having this kind of niche music taste and all these different passions to becoming a brand. And I usually refer to it as the manifestation of my mind, but it's so much more than me now. Even working with different creators and different freelancers has just been a great experience because they're bringing elements of themselves to the brand as well. So it's even growing beyond me, which I think is just such a beautiful thing. And I'm just interested to see where it goes and to see how it evolves. You've got some exciting projects coming up, but I guess I'll get onto that a bit later. I feel like we are in a society where you have to network. You have to network if you want to get yourself out there, or if you want to create a name for yourself, especially in the media, TV, film, entertainment industries. It's about networking. It's about who you meet. It's about who can create those opportunities for you, being in the right spaces, being in the right conversations, your name being mentioned in those conversations, in those rooms, helping you to elevate, but also you as a person getting to those places, getting through those doors and creating opportunities for other people to walk in behind you. So it's all those things, and those things involve networking, and that even means in-person networking, which can be quite daunting. And there's so many different forms of networking. In the music industry, networking can even be attending a music event, because there you meet other like-minded individuals, and you don't know what careers they're working in, or you don't know how you can help each other, or collaborate with each other, or work with each other. Or you can even go to a music concert and meet the musician that you are watching, the musician that you got the ticket to attend the concert to see. And you could even approach them and ask them for an interview, and that is even a way of networking as well. So it's really crazy. There's so many different forms of networking in the music industry. And I was actually having a conversation with my friends recently and saying, I don't think we talk enough about networking through Instagram stories. And it's a funny one, because I feel like to network, you have to kind of celebrate other people before yourself. And it's something, I try to kind of include in the writer's mind as well, kind of celebrating people through Instagram stories, or celebrating people through Instagram posts. And sometimes those, you share people's work, and it leads them to explore your work, and, and to celebrate you. And it's kind of it kind of works like that. It's almost like a genuine connection. So I do say, you don't necessarily have to leave your house to network, even though that's an important part of networking. But as we've seen with the pandemic, you have to kind of get creative in the ways that you network, or get creative in the ways that you put yourself out there, or you progress through this industry. So yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, but those are the type of things that I've definitely been exploring since the pandemic. How can I network, or put myself out there, or, kind of be less introverted in the way that I move around the industry. Because I do think, I do tend to be quite introverted. So I'll go to music concerts on my own, or go to workshops in London on my own, or exhibitions. And I just like to do that. Obviously, I go sometimes with my friends, but I don't necessarily mind going on my own. And even that in a way is a form of networking. I actually spoke to someone recently who they said something like, when you're in a room, you go out to an event, go to the group of people that have an odd number in it, because there's always one person that's kind of standing on their own, and that's the person that you can reach, that's the person that you can connect with, and that's the person you can talk to. And it's a really interesting but yet simple statement. But yeah, so that's how I would kind of answer that question. I still try to maintain who I am when I move through the industry, or when I go out, kind of not just talking to people because you're thinking about what you can gain from them, but kind of thinking of it in a way of long-term friendships, long-term partnerships, long-term collaborations. I think within the writer's mind, it's been so great, because I've interviewed people, and then they've gone on to become my mentors, or gone on to become my friends. And these are people that I call on in really, tough times, and they call upon me too. And it's a real friendship. So yeah, I feel maybe I would say for anyone who feels introverted, do try to put yourself out there. Do try to utilize online networking, Instagram, LinkedIn as well is a great resource. The Dots is a great resource. Use those platforms that are online that maybe you feel more comfortable networking that way, but don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And when you do put yourself out there, don't think about short-term gain, or don't necessarily think about what this person can do for you. Think about it as more, creating fruitful, meaningful, long-term partnerships, collaborations where, yes, that person could help you with your career, but you can also help them. And it may not necessarily be with their career, but possibly with life skills. What could you teach them? What about what life qualities you have or personal attributes do you have that you can show them or, help them to gain for their own life. So yeah. I also think that there's something to be said about online networking and online events or virtual events that's really great in terms of connecting with people abroad. So making those connections with people who live in different countries to you that you wouldn't necessarily meet on a daily basis. And I think, where you may not necessarily get the support in your hometown, you may find that you actually get more support from people who live 1,000 miles away from you. And, being able to meet those people and connect those people in an online space, I think is really important. So there's lots of benefits, I think, that come from online networking or that come from, going to like virtual events and meeting people that can open doors for you in these events. So yeah, I think even maybe because of the pandemic or as a result of the pandemic or as a result of all these digital events, a lot of people have friends that are considered as online friends, or their friends they may not have necessarily met in person. I've actually got a lot of friends that I've met through social media. I don't think I can really say the musicians, artists or writers that I've interviewed who are introverted, but I do think that question does make me look to the people who I am inspired by. So like the music producers I'm inspired by, the visual storytellers I'm inspired by, the visual producers I'm inspired by. I do think like a lot of the music producers inspired by are quite introverted, even in the sense of like the way that they release music. Like I think a lot of the people I like don't release music so frequently. There will be like gaps between their projects, and even the people who aren't alive now, the greats like Jay Dilla, I think even when I look to him, like, I don't know, he does kind of strike me as someone who was quite introverted and someone who allowed his music to speak for himself. And that's why sometimes like to come across Jay Dilla interviews is quite is quite rare. But yeah, I think I'm someone who doesn't necessarily mind if an artist goes on a hiatus or if they, there's like a 3-year gap between their music, because I understand those periods of quietness, especially as someone who is quite creative and understands, if whether it's burnout or whether it's you're just not finding inspiration or whether you just release something and you want people to digest your work. There's so many reasons as to why like someone may not want to release something. But yeah, so I'd say like definitely the music producers that I like, and even like someone like Tuami, who he's one of my favorite producers. I interviewed him a couple of years ago, and I remember even asking him about, oh, why do you prefer to be like not so online and stuff like that? And I remember him even saying about allowing his music to speak for himself and stuff like that. And then you've even got like on the visual side, like someone like Estelle Caswell. To me, she strikes me as someone who just allows her work to speak for itself as well. I don't really see her being too online. But yeah, kind of just, she's someone that I'm just really inspired by. And if you don't know her, definitely say to check out her work. She created Vox's Earworm series, and she's one of my favorite visual producers, and I love the work that she's created. But a lot of people who are, let's say, inspired by like J Dilla or MF Doom, even the fact that MF Doom, he would wear this mask, and like in the sense that's almost like being introverted, and I kind of see that to a degree as being introverted as well, and like kind of having this persona. And I think a lot of the conversations that I have with my friends as well like looks at kind of this link between the hip hop industry, or the sample-based producer industry, and this kind of introvertedness, or even like working from your bedroom or creating from your bedroom. A lot of the producers that I like or I even connected with, they started making music from their bedroom, so it's just like, and sometimes even that process of like gathering music or finding music, you find it kind of through being introverted, by taking time for yourself to listen, to dig deep, to dig the crates, to like dig through YouTube, to dig through SoundCloud, to find those hidden gems. And Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, I'm really excited about the direction that In the Writer's Mind is going, and, just being able to work alongside other creatives and getting to interview and meet so many different people has just been such an experience. And we've got some doing interviews with senior people within like creative agencies, production companies as well, and, getting key advice for them that people can benefit from is another key aspect of what I'm working on right now with the brand and with the creative people that I'm working with. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And you can find In the Writer's Mind on the main website, which is www.inthewritersmind.com. No spaces, no caps. You can find In the Writer's Mind also on Instagram at In the Writer's Mind. No spaces, no caps, no underscores. Yeah. You can also find In the Writer's Mind on YouTube. The channel is called In the Writer's Mind, and you can find In the Writer's Mind on, I believe it's Vimeo or Vimeo. I can never say it right, but that's also another video sharing platform, and we do post short snippets from our video interviews on there as well, so you can check that out. And yeah, thank you for having me do this interview. It's been really interesting to explore these topics. I don't think I've ever been asked these questions in an interview before. I'm usually the one doing the interview, so it's a different experience, but thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really grateful.